No Rest for the Wicked is a game that has entered early access on Steam and is made by the wonderful team from Moon Studios. Now, before I dive into this early access review, it needs to be said that the game is in early access. We only have access to Chapter 1 of the game as well as the systems in play to give us an understanding of what the full product will look like. The game will come out on consoles when it is ready for official 1.0 launch. And with that being said, anything that I say about this with regards to issues or the positives or even the score itself is subject to change when the game fully launches. My review essentially encompasses what it's like to purchase the product currently in early access. So let's further ado, let's get into it. When you start the game off, you will create your own character. The character creator in this game is okay. It's not the best, not the worst. It's pretty simple, nothing very complicated, but it is there to create your character. And once you create your character, away you go. Now, if you are familiar with the team at Moon Studios, you'll know that they make beautifully artistic video games. Ori 1 and 2 are both amazing games visually, and No Rest for the Wicked is no different. Right away, when you jump in, the first thing that you'll notice is how beautiful the artwork is of this game, especially if you're playing on an HDR display. Lighting in this game is absolutely fantastic, and the game is gorgeous through and through all the way through the end, and it's absolutely a visual marvel. The art team is top tier in my opinion, and the art in this game is amazing. But once you get past it and you start playing the game, what is No Rest for the Wicked? Well, No Rest for the Wicked is essentially an ARPG that plays like a Souls game. So essentially, unlike a game like Diablo, where you roam around and enemies explode of loot and it's just spamming abilities, this is not the case. When you play No Rest for the Wicked, the combat is more in line with a Souls game. It's slow, it's methodical, you need to dodge, you need to block, you need to parry. If you don't, you will die. When you get hit hard. And this encompasses all the way through. Even the way the game has its fast travel locations. The fast travel works very similar to that of a Souls game. When you die in this game, there is a durability penalty to your gear. Now, just because it's a Souls-like style game, it doesn't encompasses everything from a Souls game. For example, when you die, you don't lose your currency that you need to upgrade your character. You don't have to go back to your place of death and collect your souls. None of that is present in the game. So from that perspective, it is a little more flexible, with the only thing you're losing is gear durability. That being said, that doesn't mean No Rest for the Wicked is for the casuals. It is a hard game, and it is a hard game by nature. A regular mob can annihilate you if you are not careful. So if you are not a fan of the Souls games, if you feel like the Souls games are too challenging for you, you may not like this game. If you do like the Souls games and you love the Souls games, then you very much could love this game. That it caters to Souls fans more than it caters to ARPG fans, and that's something to be said. Also, sticking with the combat, the boss fights in this game are pretty damn good. Now again, this is chapter 1, so we only have a few boss fights to experience, but the boss fights are what you would expect if a Souls game was a top-down ARPG. The quality of the bosses are fantastic, and the combat and the way you encounter and read movements, it's rewarding yet punishing if you fail. Once you get past the combat, there are issues with this game. As I said, this is an early access game and things need to be ironed out. The number one issue that we have thus far is performance. Despite the game, even though it's beautiful, it shouldn't be demanding on hardware. It doesn't run that great. I have a 3080 Ti and a 10700K running the game at 1080p, and I'll get frame drops down to 30 FPS in very busy cities. So to sit there and say that the performance is where it needs to be is not the case. The performance is not there. The positive of this is that Moon Studios has already released 3 patches of the making of this video, and performance has improved through their patching. So the performance will get there. They did say they prioritize features to performance, and the performance will get ironed out. But as we've seen through the first week, they are men of their word, they're people of their word, and they are improving the performance. There are other issues, though, that still plague the game besides performance. The number one issue outside of performance for me comes in the form of stash space. Essentially, the amount of items you need for crafting, whether it's for your armor or for cooking or things of that nature, there is just not enough space in your inventory. You will fill up your space very quickly. And even if you get the item that from a boss that allows you to increase your space that you can carry, you're almost forced to take the one that increases your space for your storage because you fill it up incredibly fast. I filled it up numerous times, and it's very, very annoying that you fill it up and you can't pick up the item. But unlike, for example, Diablo 2, you could create a portal, go back to your town, empty your stuff, go through the portal, be back where you are, and continue. That doesn't happen in this game. No Rest for the Wicked doesn't have that. You cannot make a portal from your spot of standing, go to base, clear out your inventory, and then go back. Again, it's very much like a Souls game. So you have to go through the nearby Whisper and then teleport back to town and then empty it out. And then go back and then journey back to where you were. So it is tedious. I think, considering that this is part ARPG, this is something that they definitely need to address personally, because I think the stash space, they should just double it for right off the hop. There's just way too many items for you to have that it makes it a pain point. It stops you from enjoying the game. The other issue that I will say that I have comes in the form of the game's difficulty scaling. Not how hard the game is, but the scaling of it. See, when you roam the open world, you'll see in the side of your screen, it tells you the area, the status of it. Is it safe? Is it moderately dangerous? Or is it dangerous? And that also corresponds to your character's level. So in the section of the game that we have, there's two areas. The first area, you'll be moderate, and I've completed that area about level 5. And when I wanted to continue with the main story and go to the next area, it was dangerous. It was listed as dangerous, and those enemies were a lot tougher. It only changed to moderate when I reached level 10. So I had to essentially grind 5 levels for the danger level to reduce by 1 to make it more of a quote-unquote normal difficulty. So this is one of those things where I think the scaling needs to be adjusted. It could be set this way because this is the only section of the game that we have, and they wanted to increase replayability. I'm not sure. But I don't think it feels good that you do the first section of the game, complete it, and then you go on to continue, and all of a sudden the difficulty spikes because you're significantly under leveled. I never think that's good game design. And while I appreciate the information being there telling you how hard it is, it should be more like, if it was level 5 than level 7, it's more reasonable than level 5 than to level 10. But that's something that they can just tweak. Aside from this, other aspects of the game that are a little bit of a pain point sticking is the fact of the amount of materials you need. So there's some base building that's required. It needs materials. To upgrade your weapons and gear, you need a different set of materials. To cook and make food for yourself, different set of materials. So there's a lot of materials, and you don't have enough space. I know I talked about it sooner, but it's all tied as one, and it makes it very, very annoying because there's just a lack. For an RPG, you're so restrictive on space. Lastly, the other final issue that I would say that I had with the game is the parrying. Not saying that parrying doesn't feel good. It's just that it's hard to be accurate from a top-down perspective. So when you play a Souls game, it's a third person, you sit behind it, so it's easier to read when to hit the parry button. The issue with a top-down is that because you're further away from the camera, it's harder to tell when to hit that parry button. And therefore, and because of how punishing the game is, you often feel like it's just unfair at times. And this is what makes it worse is the fact that when you level and upgrade your gear, you have a chance of upgrading your gear that has a debuff. So some debuffs that I've had on some of the pieces of gear, one debuff was I would receive 6% less XP. Okay, that's not bad. 6%, that's not a big deal. You can deal with that. But another one would be minus 49% healing reduction. So it takes twice as much healing items to heal the same amount. Like, it doesn't feel good to go to the vendor to enchant your piece of gear, use the money, use the currency to enchant it, and then you get such a bad negative debuff that you don't even want to use it anymore. So to me, I think that's something that they need to look at and something that they need to address, because overall I feel like it's unrewarding to go there and say, hey, I got the currency, I want to upgrade this gear, and it upgrades its stats, but then it adds one debuff, and the debuff can be so bad that you're just like, I don't even want to use this piece of gear anymore. But aside from this, No Rest for the Wicked has tremendous potential. And when the game fully does enter 1.0, I have full confidence in the studio that they will release a fabulous game, as both Ori 1 and 2 were fabulous games themselves. That being said, in its current state, as a current product, considering that in order to get early access, you have to spend money, I would sit there and say that overall, from an early access product, it's a 7.5. It's good, you can have fun, but it does have its issues that the developers are actively working on. But just know that the developers do have a good history, and that overall I'm fully confident that No Rest for the Wicked will be a fantastic title when it launches its 1.0. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.